Get started. Hey everyone, back here with another interview after, I think, 8 months or so. We're here with the one and only Shwabadi.
Hi.
We are doing this mainly, well, one, we've been wanting to do an interview with Shwabadi forever, but also with the new EP, thought it was the perfect time. Now, going right into that EP, so we listened to it, we wanted to have it fresh, so we did wait to listen to it till last night, and my first question when I first heard the first track, Stay Here, was, okay, what was the inspiration for this song? But as I heard the vibe of the entire EP, it changed to, what was the inspiration for the EP? Because that was not a very happy one. Like, compared to, all the Twilight, Werebear Volume 1 and 2, in comparison.
Yeah.
So, what kind of brought on all that? Was just getting emotions out, or?
Half of the, I think half the lyrics on that EP were actually written 2.5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
In 2020.
Oh. COVID time.
2020 is when I quit my day job of being a teacher and switched to making music full time. And with that, it was very exciting. It was going very well. But for some reason, I also became incredibly depressed. It was this really low pit in my life. A lot of things weren't going right for me. Even though the career was going very well, personally it wasn't going very well everywhere else. So I wrote a lot of music as to vent about it, but never released it anywhere. And it's that kind of stuff I just played on my guitar, or I noodled with some keys on FL Studio, wrote some lyrics, sang it. I have all the demo versions of them stuff still left over after 2 years, and never released it. It was just vent music. And then a few years later, I've been dealing on and off with a lot of mental health issues since then. It's been a lot better though, and part of that healing process has been because of the music. And I was like, I kind of want to share a piece of that journey, and there was no way I could do it through my content, my anime music. So I was like, right, complete swerve. Let's just go complete to a complete aside, so everyone knows this is different. This is supposed to be a separate thing. Short of changing my artist name, there was nothing else more that I could have changed about that project compared to my normal music. So I switched aside, and I just tried to put a piece of, everything that I had been dealing with into a song. And thankfully, a lot of people have been connecting with it in a way that's really, really, that I'm really grateful for. But yeah, it's interesting. Also, the EP was an album at one point. It was a 9-song album.
Oh my!
But I sort of just kept cutting it down until it was really refined, until it was precisely what I wanted it to be. So I think it's.
I know by the end of it, Kiara was crying.
I was crying by the second song. Excuse you.
I can't lie, and I'm not ashamed to admit that while writing several songs for that EP, while listening to instrumental parts that I got from other people like Soundwave and Freest, while mixing it, I cried myself, because it's a lot of the stuff in there is very real. It's still very raw for me. It's hard to listen to sometimes.
I mean, it's not the first time your Wonder Egg Priority song got her too.
Yeah.
I think that one was the first time where I'd gone let me be just real on a track for a second and open up, and I really like that one.
Now, since you said this was made 2 years ago, that kind of answers another question. I was going to ask, did the Stay Here have any actual connection to Obito when you first wrote it, or no? That was just kind of something you threw on there.
Yeah, I mean, that's why when I put the AMV out, I made sure to title it where it's Stay Here, Shwabadi Stay Here, in brackets, Obito AMV. It's I'm not trying to allude to it being about the character, but I saw the similarities of, he has a tragic story connected to another person.
Kind of like Divide
himself. So.
Kind of like Divide with his Numb cover. Just connecting it.
And when you see that kind of thing, it's to the classic days of AMVs where you hear something that reminds you of a character and you put them together visually.
I mean, that's where I first heard 3 Days Grace was a Gara AMV about Animal I've Become. So
yeah,
Back in those days.
No, I think there's a lot of songs in my playlist now that I could probably trace back to being from AMVs or something like that.
I am ashamed to admit this, but there is a song called Candyman, and I heard it on a Shishomaru AMV, and it's still one of my favorite songs.
Well, I mean, and since you did admit to crying and stuff, I was actually going to ask, when you go in to record these types of songs, do you have to, like, mentally prep yourself, or do you just kind of let it all fly so that the emotion's more real?
And do you need to take breaks?
When it actually comes to recording, the recording is sort of the culmination of a lot of sitting there practicing it. So it's a lot of the emotional aspect is in the writing rather than the performance. So building yourself up to it isn't nearly as difficult as like writing it, composing it, putting it together, even mixing it. Because then you're just in performance mode. Or it's just like I just need to nail what I'm doing. And there's plenty of practice for that. So that's not as hard to sort of build up to, get into. You don't need to take breaks. I don't personally. Some other people might be different, but yeah. For me, like when you're doing something that's very emotionally real for you, the difficult part is in putting it to paper.
And that's kind of always been. I've tried to do it a couple times, at least write things, and yeah, I mean, I can get rhymes or whatever, but then they sound stupid when you actually say them.
I think it's like it's difficult. That's one thing I'm proud of in this project, and I've had a lot of people mention that. Obviously, it's not the genres and the sound that I'm most practiced in. So sonically, it's not the best thing ever. It's not, you know what I mean? It's not super refined. It's not the guitar's not super well performed. The singing isn't incredible. It's just
there.
But at the core, the writing is the strength, is what I've heard from a lot of people, and I agree with that myself.
Yeah,
and
I would
think
too.
That's the bit I'm proudest of, is being able to, because I've, make it sound nice, make some of the songs catchy, have lyrics that sound good together, that rhyme well, but also communicate that. That's the part I'm really proud of.
Okay. And, I was just looking at it, and from it looks like, unless I haven't been doing enough research, in the community as a whole, it seems like you have the most albums/EPs kind of just out there in comparison to most that I've seen. Because you have Werebear 1 and 2, Twilight, the one with Breton, I think that's
Project Polymerization.
Yeah, Polymerization, and then this one. So that's 5, and I haven't really seen many.
That's 5, yeah. And I had, before that, I had The Life and Death of.
Oh, yeah.
Which is now on Shwabadi.
Archives, yeah.
American Shwabadi. And I also had the Ghost Bear EP. Nobody knows about that one. That was very early. That was before I started rapping about animes. That was when I was rapping out games. The Ghost Bear EP. I think I might be beaten in project by. I think Ham has quite a few. I think he has 6 now.
Okay, yeah.
And
Really?
Rustage has a lot of old albums.
I haven't gone. The furthest back I've gone with Rustage, and and I will admit this, I need to go further back, even though I know from what he said he prefers you not.
I promise you don't need to go further back.
I think the oldest one I have is kind of around the Konoha 12 Cypher era. Is kind of where
that's
where we kind of got into it.
Cut it off.
Cut off there.
Musicians in our scene have only gotten better as time has gone on.
Yeah.
And once you reach a certain point, it's just diminishing returns.
I mean, heck,
music's not good.
I found DPS, I think, in 2014 with a couple of his Destiny raps. And the difference from that to, for instance, Menace, it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, a lot of us in those sort of days, I mean, well, that's earlier than then. I was creating a lot of content, but sort of back in between 2014 to 2018, 2019 even, all of us, we were just making content. We were making musical products, but it was content. It was the content first. Now we're making music first. Which is the big difference, which is why I think there's such a clear difference sonically when you listen to our old stuff.
And it's really
because we're prioritizing the music.
I was going to say, it's really interesting on a lot of... if you just go from A to B, you can usually pinpoint where that switches. Right around the area. I know, with DPS, it was the Beerus into the Dio track. Was the big kind of switch there after his 3-month break.
Yeah, he really took some time off, came back and just snapped.
Yeah. Yeah. Heck, I sorry, just reminiscing. I remember when I first got in the community, you were doing that. What were they called? You basically would look at people's stuff they'd send you and give them very
analysis.
Yeah,
the Schwab
very
analysis.
honest feedback.
That is where I began to develop a reputation for being mean. I promise I'm not mean.
I knew that.
I'm very passionate about art in general and obviously music because I'm a musician. And when I see people who have a passion for that as well and they want to succeed, I want to push them as much as I can to succeed. So the Schwab analysis was me maybe slightly misguided because at the time I didn't have the reputation behind me to really, merit me taking other people's songs and giving them like, who was I to give criticism? My music was trash. But that was just me trying to put some of my passion towards other people as well. And yeah.
Okay. And
not a great series. Didn't enjoy it.
Sometimes it was funny. I like some. It
was definitely funny sometimes, but it's so painful to actually make.
I mean, heck, you go back and watch any old content, you're just like, ooh, E.
Honestly, yeah.
You should have seen his first videos without me.
Shush. I'm not gonna lie. I don't understand. All the power to him. I don't understand how people can do reactions solo. I can't. I even know like you'll have like other people in the Discord chat sometimes when you're doing them, but like
sometimes yeah. I haven't done that for a while, so I should do that again because you're right. Doing reaction solo can be when it gets to a moment where you're just like, I don't know how to verbalize my feelings. Someone else can just bounce in and say something, right? But when you're alone, you're just like stun lock. He's like, okay, what do I do now?
So all the power, like what it do, and Phoenix and all those guys that do it solo. It's like, you know what? All the power to you.
To be fair, though, I'm not very helpful.
It's still I can bounce ideas off.
Like,
and
okay.
It helps.
I liked it.
But I was gonna say, so when it comes to with the distance and everything, I know technology has made it so you can collab with people like DPS or Fable or things like that. What is the hardest part about the distance in between you and an artist from like America?
I mean, one big thing is time zones. Trying to talk to people and communicate, and sometimes having to wait several hours for a response because they're in bed and then they respond and you're in bed, so it just slows down the whole process. It can be like really frustrating.
Absolutely fair.
Yeah, especially if that person has a busy schedule, like if they are a parent or if they have a day job or whatever it is, right? So just finding the time to actually message each other can be, when it's a creative thing, there's so much back and forth and so much conversation that has to happen for it to develop, right? So the less sort of in line your schedules are, the slower that is and the longer it takes, and it's just it's a nightmare.
So what was going kind of from that? What was kind of the longest collab for one song you've done in kind of recent memory? Like the longest ones taken to kind of put together due to those kind of issues.
Oh gosh. To be honest, a lot of the time, if projects start rolling, but then there's a conflict of schedules, because I tend to do things with a relatively tight schedule, I just drop the project. So besides ciphers, I don't think I really allow any songs to take that long.
Oh, all right.
That's fair.
I mean, the song Ski Mask Season took maybe 4 months to finish, but that one wasn't really a conflict. It was just we were both working on it slowly, doing a bit here, doing a bit there, adding ideas, and it just slowly developed. So that's probably the one that took the longest, but that one was just because we were letting it simmer and letting it slowly develop. Whereas usually, yeah, like I said, if it starts taking a bit too long, I just stop it. Because I'm like, I'm too busy. I have to.
And it's funny you bring up ciphers because when we first got in, it was a cipher every other freaking week. And
oh god,
I and I remember going into stream and someone brought up cipher and go, I'm done with them. I can't stand them anymore. And, Sine Wave, I can't stand it anymore. Rusted, I can't stand them anymore. And I sort of kind of feel like back, it was my way of finding new people.
Yeah.
So now when the ciphers come out and there's no one new, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
like
I think the vast majority of ciphers that happen now, there's always
at least one. There's always one or
they
two.
are less. Yeah, they're less common now, but talking to other artists, there's always that feeling where when you're creating a cipher, you want to put someone else on. You want to put someone new on, put a new voice, to put them on if you can, give them some views, but also just to have a new sound on your channel. So like Rustage always tries to include at least one or two new voices that he hasn't used before. Like in the Hashira cipher, he had
It was what was it? It was
Yayu.
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 Yeah.
He's never featured Yayu before, so he puts Yayu on, who's an incredible artist. He put that VTuber, who's also a rapper, Shah, I think her name was, or Sa.
I saw, I think, SAA or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Put her on. So it's that kind of thing where you'll get a lot of the reason we work with a lot of the same people is because we know what they like to work with, so it's easy.
Fair.
We already are in contact with them, so there's no setup or preliminary work. You just DM them and say, hey, do me a verse, bitch. And Game Boy Jones will be like, all right, I got you. Right?
Yeah.
And we understand people's sort of sound profiles, so we know what they're going to work well with. So there is this like strange criticism that comes from a lot of people adjacent to our community, which is that, oh, you guys, it's such an echo chamber, you always work with the same people. And it's like, I don't think we do. We definitely work with the same people a lot, but we don't only work with the same people. We are constantly bringing in people that none of our listeners would have heard of before. You know what I mean? So,
there's a lot of times I do reactions go, I need to go check them out.
yeah. It's just a strange criticism that I hear levied at us every so often, but it's usually by people who are, slightly outside of our
Like I think
community
it's because of you specifically. I found Sinewave, EMP, and what was that third one? Crap, Ham actually with
Ham.
Braggadocious. I think it was Braggadocious where I first heard him.
Yeah.
Or not? No, it wasn't Ham.
No.
It was Delta, I think.
Oh, Delta.
Delta,
Yeah.
yeah,
He
Delta,
was,
my
he was
bad.
on the original Braggadocious.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Dandalia.
a lot of that kind of stuff where I mean, if I hear someone who's good, like Delta, for example, I'll want him on my song just because it makes my song better. You know what I mean? But if I can put on those small artists as well, that's also a big thing for me is trying to highlight that talent where I can.
I mean, heck.
I mean, I will to this day claim that I am responsible for Brian Boy.
Fair enough.
I will hold that over him. I put him on Braggadocious. I put him on my Kurapika song. I featured on his tracks. I put him on. I own the rights to Brian Boy.
I mean, you could almost say the same for EMP in a way.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that me and Golden EMP have been working together for close to 2 years now. A year and a half, I think, when I first featured on his channel. And I've only now recently actually put him on my channel because it's one of those things where I've just been waiting and waiting for the right project because he has such a specific sound and such a good style that works with certain stuff. And I was like, I'm waiting for one to come up. And then finally it happened with the Night City Eulogy recently where I was like, oh, sad hip-hop vibes, slightly emo, slightly quirky, needs melodic, Golden EMP, get in.
And, I have to give a personal thank you for, I wouldn't say putting him out there because he was already kind of doing his own thing, but getting him into this community with Sinewave.
Yeah, he was definitely doing his own thing with the anime rap ciphers and stuff in his own sort of circle and anime YouTube.
Like with Anime Man and, those guys.
Honestly, when I first reached out to him, I kind of thought that he might... I was worried that he wouldn't want to work with me because he had a lot of very cool, big connections. I was like, I'm some nobody anime rapper, he's not going to care. And then he hit me up, work with me, and ever since then it's been this incredible relationship with him as like a colleague and as a friend. Yeah. And he's just everywhere now.
He's a fantastic guy.
He is. He's super sweet.
He's such a wonderful guy, and he's an incredibly talented musician.
I wanted to say something. I find that like this community in general is just very sweet, and I felt very welcomed when I first came into this community, and I was very nervous about that because I'm not very social on social media. So
it's I mean the community itself's had a few hiccups here and there, but
what community doesn't though?
Exactly.
No, I think I will say for our community, it's one that is we value among over anything else that you're just a cool person, right? As long as you're just chill, you're funny, or you're easy to hang out with, or whatever it is, as long as you just don't cause problems, you are welcome, dude. You are welcome. I don't care. Like, I can hate your music. I can hate your art. I'll still welcome you in with open arms and be, like, cool with you if you're cool. That's, like, all there is to it. There's no gatekeeping. There's none of that. It's just literally down to, you're cool? All right, welcome in.
Yeah. And I feel like that warmth definitely comes from a lot of, like, the big artists, like you and Game Boy, and, like, all of you guys are just very, like, yo, hey, welcome in, and it was really nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of especially in the age of streaming, sort of a year and a bit ago, when like Fable, Divide, DPS, me, Game Boy Jones, when we were all streaming all the time, there was a realization where it's like, oh, we are community leaders. We set an example, and we set the tone of our fan base, our community, our circles. So there was like that onus on us to be like, let's actually be just cool, and then we can actually foster this really nice environment where
it'll bleed off
people can build.
Yeah,
exactly. And it has, which is nice to say.
I was gonna say
the anime rap scene is so non-toxic. It's beautiful.
You know, as much as some people like to say, "Oh no, it's toxic." You haven't been here. You're in some weird spots.
Yeah,
then, man.
it's people who are from outside of our cliques who look in. Only when, obviously, there's lots of engagement, when people are arguing, we'll be like, whoa, this place is so toxic, there's so many fights. And it's like, no, you just show up for when it happens.
Yeah.
And it's always outside instigators. It is always outside instigators.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, I was going to ask, so, kind of back into the music stuff, and, you know, I've heard you do many different genres, kind of like Game Boy and everything else. What would you say is your favorite to kind of always pick back up? Because, you know, I've heard you do kind of screamo, growling, you know, soft, melodic. What's kind of your favorite to just kind of go back to?
I think, like, the music of mine that has the most longevity and stay with me personally is the stuff where I'm sort of just rapping as to the best of my ability. There's no, like, gimmick or like, highly stylized sound. It's like, I hone it in on the technical aspect of my like rapping and vocal performance. So things like Ranking of Kings, Anime Protagonist, songs where like I'm really proud of the production, but you know it's not the production of like I'm trying to think of an aggressive song of mine, Madara, right, where it's highly distorted and super stylized and one thing narrow. It's like, no, it's quite, you know, general. It's hip hop production. There's nothing like, you can't listen to that beat and be like, oh, you know, this is a very specific thing. It's just general hip hop. Anyone could rap on that. But it just allows me to do the stuff that is more evergreen, and that's the stuff I like. It's more hip hop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I remember also hearing that switch again in the music. But why did you start doing an American accent, like with your music?
I started rapping in an American accent like when I very first started doing rap, sort of in 2012, 2013. I started doing it in an American accent because the only rappers I had heard had been American.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So I was just, anytime I rapped in my accent, especially because I don't have a typical British accent, I have a northern accent, which was pretty strong 10 years ago.
Fair.
To the point of a lot of American friends thought I was incomprehensible. I've become a lot more well-spoken in that time because I've traveled around, I've lived in different countries and stuff. But yeah, trying to do anything musically in that accent it just sounded horrid to me. It sounded like mud. So I was like, okay, let me try and switch it up. And that's where I discovered the American accent. I was like, oh, this sounds like rap music I've listened to. And then I ran with it.
Okay.
That makes sense.
So I remember you talking about that on stream one time, and you're just like, you know, I think I'm just going to finally give up on it. And I'm like, wait, what?
What?
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of like Bullet for My Valentine. I always thought they were an American band.
Until we saw them live.
And he started talking, I'm like, they're British?
I was like, yeah,
there's a lot of that with like bands and singers and stuff where their accent is so feigned when they're singing, or they completely drop it and switch into a more neutral accent. It's like you hear them speaking, you're like, you're Scottish or something like that, and it's just like,
yeah.
And then, you know, I'm assuming you have a recording studio within your house now. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I
That's
guess
the
I'm just
booth.
blind. Bear in a
The
booth.
booth is behind me.
So does that like have a door on it, or is it just that treated and then it just doesn't?
It's just it used to be a closet space. So you can see there's one closet on the side of me
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And there was the same thing here. We ripped the doors off, put all the acoustic foam in it, set it up as a little stand. So it's just a little isolated, treated area.
No, do you and Connor both
and it's
use
not
that one?
finished yet, but yeah. We
Okay.
both use that.
Okay. I was gonna ask, if you both had one or how you guys did that. Just because to me it's interesting to see that two artists that are making money off their content, now are roommates. It sounds like it's set up for a sitcom.
Yeah, I feel like this does feel very close to being a content house. Except it would be a really boring show because both of us just sit at our computers for 18 hours a day working.
The crazy thing is a lot of people don't realize that that's a lot of what the job is.
Yeah, this is no exaggeration, have not seen the sun in a week.
Yeah.
I wake up at 3 p.m., where right now in the UK, 3 p.m. is right where the sun's starting to go down and it's pitch black outside by 6. So I wake up, I go through my morning routine of, shower, brush my teeth, get breakfast, blah, 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 blah. By the time I'm, actually up and around and doing stuff, it's dark outside. And then I just sit on my computer for 16 hours and then I go to bed. And I don't see the sun. It's been that way for a week. And it's unhealthy. But the grind don't stop.
Fair enough.
Hey, you could be like me and be. My job was under renovation, but we were still open, so all of us employees were outside for the entire summer. And my vitamin D levels went from 27 to 32. Your lowest level for vitamin D should be 30.
She's always low. I know that it sounds weird. The fact that she gained 5% though with her body not retaining vitamin D, she was just in the sun a lot.
Yeah.
You can either be in the sun too much.
That's what I might need to start taking
supplements,
pills.
That's what she does.
Supplements because
I have to
right
take
now,
4 vitamin D pills a day.
Yeah, I do not see the sun.
And now I have to ask. Sometimes roommates match schedules. Is Connor kind of on the same schedule as you?
Right now, he's goes to bed a little later than me, wakes up a little later than me, but it's around about the same. We're both just night owls. The vast majority of people we talk to, interact with, our homies with, are American.
Yeah.
So we're on their schedule.
I mean, heck, right now it's 3 a.m. for you.
Yeah, 3 a.m. It's 3:15.
So, again, thank you for staying up. And then I realized, wait, it's almost bedtime.
To be honest, I'll probably be up for another 3 hours.
Fair enough. And then so I was wondering, some people may not always see it on Twitter or wherever else, but how do you usually interact with the community, outside of the other artists? Do you ever put a time aside to kind of interact with fans or anything, if you get a chance, obviously?
I sort of interact with fans when and where I encounter them.
Streaming
so I have a
being one of
Discord
them.
server. Yeah, so streaming, obviously, it's more direct. I respond to chat, I talk to people. Twitter, if people are in my notifications, I respond to them under my post, that kind of thing. YouTube community posts. I do what I can as I encounter notifications and encounter people. I can't really go out of my way to interact with fans. I just don't have the time, personally.
That's
or
fair.
the sort of mental wherewithal.
Fair
Balancing friendships and what have you, on top of being more direct with the community is
Fair enough.
almost impossible in my current state. So, but yeah, it's just sort of when and where I can. The main thing is streaming. That's the main direct.
I think that's where a lot of
Personality
artists
interaction.
went to. Is
Yeah.
when they stream, that's when they really interact. Because I think right now the main streamers from the community that are still doing it are you, Game Boy. I think he did YouTube. Went over to YouTube though. Could be wrong.
Game Boy Jones doesn't stream.
Oh, I thought I saw it.
Suppose, he streamed once.
Oh.
Yeah, he streamed once, and then it was like, guys, I'm back to streaming. I'm like, yeah, I bet. Believe it when I see it, Game Boy Jones.
And then Rustage. Rustage is there pretty often when his mental
Rustage-
health is letting him.
Yeah, he obviously has the D&D series, but also he's just been streaming randomly here and there, with just chatting on video games, which is always fun.
Heck, he was doing Truck Simulator for ages.
Yeah. Sine Wave's a big streamer now as well.
Yep, he's been playing
of
the
people who
Quarry.
are still streaming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sine Wave as well. And then, I saw Connor try to get on with WoW. I don't know if he wanted to stick with that or not, but I was there for a bit.
Yeah.
No, we try to do the same, but it's interesting to see, and this isn't like shade to anyone that watches us or anything. I've noticed though that when we've gone out of the algorithm, I like being out of the algorithm for a while because it shows us like who's there for our content and who's there for the song. Which isn't as big, but it's fine. Because like when we put up songs that are like 3 weeks behind, we get maybe a fourth of the views.
Yeah.
But it's understandable. So when I know I had asked DPS this one time in stream, and he brought up somehow he sometimes will have a pen next to him when he's watching an anime. Now, do you ever go, I want to write a song about this, let's watch it? Or do you just be watching something or reading something and go,
I have, in terms of manga and anime, consumed more manga and anime because I wanted to make a song about it than I haven't. You know what I mean? That has been the primary reason. Because as a content creator, you have so little spare time that you're trying to think of excuses to do something fun. So for me, it's, if I schedule a song about this, then I have to read it. It's work. You know what I mean?
Fair.
I read Berserk because I'd set a scheduled song. I was like, I'm going to make a song about Berserk, so I better read it. And then, luckily for me, I fell in love with the series and put all of my fucking soul into the song because I absolutely adore
I love that
song,
song, but I'm so happy. Speaking of Berserk, I was, it took forever. Like, I was wishing and wishing and wishing when I first joined that people would start doing it, and then it started happening, and I was like, finally. Fable, DPS, Divide, Rustage.
Yeah.
I was like, yes.
It's funny whenever someone. So there's the trendy airing, talked about anime, the stuff that's airing right now.
Yeah.
That's what people tend to gravitate
Like
towards. To put
Cyberpunk,
music out.
and Chainsaw
Yeah.
Man.
Jujutsu Kaisen when that was coming out. Those kinds of things. But then there's the classics, right? And it's always fun because a lot of people are always going back and doing songs about shows or movies and stuff that came out a little while ago that not many people are talking about. They're like, let me just test something, and they go back. And usually it doesn't work. But every so often it works out, where it's like they find something. So DPS with Hellsing. He did the Hellsing song and just absolutely blew up. And you're like, okay, there's one of the classics. Let's all go back and watch it again. Let's get involved.
Vampire.
A load of content for it. Yeah.
The abridged one.
Obviously,
that,
he did the abridged one as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
I loved it.
You got it with.
I think Yu Yu no, Game Boy tried Yu Yu. I don't know if that caught on.
Yeah, and that one, that's one of those ones where he goes back and tries it and it didn't work quite as well. Oh, with Berserk, like we were just saying, that's another example. And for me, I was trying to recreate that recently, like this year, where I was like, what is a series? What is a Hellsing? What is a Berserk that I can tap into? And I was like, oh, Soul Eater.
Yeah.
Nobody's done any Soul Eater music in years. And it's a pretty popular series. Everyone knows about it. So I also had Soul Eater, so I just read it and I was like, wait, this is dope. And I made one of the best songs of my career.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I really like it. What I was gonna say is, I know Soul Eater got a lot more attention back to it when Fire Force ended. Try not
right,
to.
yeah.
Because
So
it landed
the connection.
I've heard about the link, yeah, but
Yeah, there's a connection there, and
the Fruits Basket song that came out not that long ago.
I think.
I don't know if that one did very well, but I was really happy
I mean,
because
if I
Fruits
remember correctly,
Basket's
it's
a
one
big
of
one.
Sinewave's higher songs, at least
Yeah.
from what I've seen.
I've actually only just started Fruits Basket. But yeah, that's one of those ones as well where, yeah, slightly older. It's an anime that's finished. No one's talking about it, but you got to try it. You
But
got
it
to
got
try
a
making
reboot.
content about it, see how it was.
It did get a
Has it?
reboot. Or is it?
No, Fruits basically
Fruits-
got a reboot.
Yeah.
There, I'm actually afraid of this December. And that's only because on the 17th, there's a high likelihood that they're going to be reanimating the Naruto Shippuden. And just watching the resurgence of all of those.
Oh God.
I mean, I'm still waiting for Fable to do a Gaara song. Like, he's the only one. But speaking of the Gaara song, that was actually from the Konoha 12 cipher. Where, where that's where I found a lot of you guys. Your first song after that was your Gaara one with Tokume, I believe.
You know what? Yeah, we're talking about that. Wasn't a bad song, I'll say. I think
It was interesting. It was one of the first songs I had heard in the community that didn't have a chorus, and so it threw me off. But I was like, I kind of like that.
Yeah, it's one that's aged badly, as all songs from that era have. But at the time, I think I was
still love
pretty
'em.
proud of that. It's a pretty
I've also
decent
kind of liked
piece
what
work.
DPS has started doing, kind of revamping older songs.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
been
with those
interesting
moderate
as well.
track. That was cool.
Yeah, I've actually been doing a little of that in the background as well. So maybe next year. I'm not sure if I'll get anything finished this year, but maybe next year you'll start seeing some newer versions of my old songs,
Or
rewritten, reproduced. But
Because I know Game Boy started doing, at least he re-released the Pain track, the definitive version of it.
yep.
Yep.
And that threw me off
Yeah.
because when we were doing the reaction, I'm sitting there, I'm like,
we were
it's...
singing to it, and then it's
Well, not only that, it was like, it said Dead Boy Kez, and I'm like,
Well-
that wasn't the original person, was it? And then I looked at, it was like, no, it was Kazura. And then I looked at
Game Boy.
Spotify,
Oh
and
yeah.
I'm like,
yeah,
oh wait,
different name,
different name, kind of like Connor used to be, what was it?
yeah.
Connor
Connor
Gamer?
Rapper.
Oh, Connor Rapper, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah, it's mine's much the same as that. Where because Game Boy Jones has been doing, I think he's done it with 3 songs now.
Mm.
He did it with the Mob Psycho song, with the Vegeta song, I think, and then with whatever we just said.
Yeah, Pain.
Yeah, so I do want to do something similar. I've got a few songs lined up where I'm like, I really like the premise of them, or I really like the instrumental, I really like the chorus, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna take that and revamp it.
Yeah. I was gonna say there's another something I haven't seen in the community very often, and that's Sailor Moon.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah, there's just not a lot of shoujo representation because unfortunately the demographic is so much smaller in
Yeah,
like
fair,
the online
fair.
space.
Yeah.
Lately though, I've seen Sailor bleeding into a lot of shonen groups. Sailor specifically. And it's usually because
I
Sailor
think-
can beat Goku, so she gets brought up a lot, but
Yeah, I think is an interesting thing that's happening with like shonen anime fans where we've all just got a bit bored of
they're all
shonen anime.
a lot of them are the same, or at least the same
Especially in
premise.
the last sort of, not this year, things have been very fresh this year, but sort of 2021 back to 2018, a lot of the anime that was coming out was very samey, very forgettable, and just boring. So I think a lot of shonen fans have been going to try different genres, and like what's the best of like the Magical Girl series, you're looking at Madoka Magica or Sailor Moon.
Oh god,
that
no,
kind of
not
thing.
Madoka Magica.
Texture.
But you're just like, spreading out and seeing what else is happening. Even like slice of life and romance and
Yeah.
comedy and stuff like that. So
I was gonna say, I was gonna say something nice based on it. Actually, since you're the first of the UK trio to actually be in an interview, do you see any validity in that UK bias thing, or was it with that meme? Because I know it kind of was there and then it stuck.
yeah, UK bias is real. Because the UK artists are better than the American ones. Hang on.
I loved that.
All right, fair.
Yeah, DPS, huh? Rustage better. Cam Steady, Conquest better. Ham Sandwich, Britain Boy better.
So who's your American half?
Ooh.
American Shwabadi. Shwabadi with the American accent. Killed that guy.
Your own worst enemy.
Yeah.
And then, just a few other things. Like, what are some of your favorite things about, the job? Because I know you said, there's a lot of long hours and stuff, but, what is some of your favorite
Yeah.
things with it?
I mean, it is, to preface, it is the hardest job I've ever had. And I've had lots of jobs. I've worked, I've been a waiter, I've pulled pints in a pub for a year, I've been a teacher in 2 different countries. I've done a lot of different things, and by far the hardest thing I've ever done is content creation and being a musician. But honestly, my favorite thing is that you get to, like, obviously we work towards pleasing an algorithm ultimately, but even within that constraint, you just kind of get to do whatever you want creatively. So if you're just feeling like, I want to make a song where I scream really loud,
Fair.
I'm gonna do that. You know what I mean? And cultivating the fan base that's going to be there for that type of content has been difficult, but now that I've done it, it's so rewarding to just know that I can put out I can put out an EP of mostly acoustic songs where I sing about my mental health and history of relationships. And people will just be there for that, and I'm like, brilliant. Okay, I just get to be creative. I get to find these little moments of inspiration and actually chase them. And it's very rewarding.
Now, I think I asked Game Boy this, but I was wondering, I know Cam, his goal is to, get up in with the big names and things like that.
Yeah.
What is your end goal? Do you want to just kind of stay with this community and just keep growing it and fostering it, or do you want to move on to, the record labels and type of stuff like that?
I essentially, generally, I just want to be self-sufficient off my music, right? If that means that I stick with the communities online that I'm with, and I keep generating content for these communities and see how that develops and evolves and changes focus, then so be it. If that means getting picked up by a major and chasing sort of a mainstream sound, then fine. It's just sort of like seeing where the music can take me and following that lead. I'm not really against anything as long as I can keep making the things that I want to make. So if YouTube starts to die off and that online content starts to be, not as well received because I'm doing the things I want to do, then yeah, I'll chase something, a different path.
I mean,
But,
you had the
for
portfolio.
as long as it's gonna work out.
Yep.
Yeah. So for as long as it's gonna work out, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. But yeah, it's just sort of doing the music and seeing where it leads me and following that. Whereas I think someone like Cam, maybe even someone like Game Boy, what they're doing is actively they're having the music follow them for a goal, which is fine, but it's just not quite what I'm interested in. I'm sort of more about seeing where the music can lead me and then following that.
Okay. Very interesting. I like that you explained the two different ideas. And that's just kind of everything that I had really big questions about. I was gonna say, besides the anime itself, how often do you pull from life in your more anime-inspired songs, or do you just pull it all from the anime?
I mean, a lot of time I'll talk about myself in my music. If it depends on the context, right? A lot of songs I tend to go a little bit ignorant, and I delve more into what would this character sound like if they were a rapper. Like Death the Kid, I just get to talk about how I am the best at what I do, and I'm gonna shoot people with guns. I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. That's nothing to do with me. It's completely within the realm of the character.
Yeah.
Whereas Ranking of Kings, I use the basis of the character and the setup of the story just to talk about myself. It's got nothing to do with Bodji and Ranking of Kings. It's just, it uses that as like the setup of comparing my life to that and then going completely off tangent. So
okay,
it depends really on the context, and it's not a decision I make before I start writing. It's just something that comes around naturally, which avenue I'm going to go with as I sort of as I start exploring those ideas. I'm like, oh, I could link this to me, or I'm just like, this is fun. I like pretending to be Goku. type.
And this is something. When was the last time you worked with DPS?
Upcoming.
Oh.
Previous to that, it was his God of High School track, 2021.
Oh my gosh, it's been that long.
Wow.
At the time, Gray Fox. Back then.
Gray Fox, yeah.
Yeah, holy
Actually,
shit.
you know what? That was 2020. That was 2020.
Holy shit.
Oh,
Because I think I was still American Schwab. Yeah, 2 years ago.
Holy shit.
That was the last time I did the Korean rapping as well, until I did my recent. Nope, that's a lie. I did Korean rapping on the Squid Game song with Game Boy Jones.
That was a good one too.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Oh, about that, I'll get back to this question in just a second, but I wanted to say, how does one go about rhyming with the foreign language? Do you try to rhyme with the word you're using or what that word means?
You just take it as its sound. So when you're rhyming, what you're rhyming is vowel sounds. So
Okay.
A, E, U, E, O. And luckily for English speakers, especially in a British accent, Korean has the exact same vowel sounds. A, E, U, E, O. And it's especially in a British accent, it works perfectly.
Okay.
So,
That's nice.
you just rhyme with the vowel sounds, which is why I've always found rhyming with Japanese quite difficult because it's very staccato, stressed syllables, whereas English doesn't have that, so it's hard to rhyme.
Shaw's figured it out.
Yeah.
Most of what he sings is Japanese, so he's just rhyming Japanese with Japanese, and it's like, what?
But on the DPS thing, the reason I was asking is because when we were talking with Game Boy and we were talking with Sailor and we're talking with Breton, I'm always interested in what the opinion on DPS's collab ethic is.
Oh, yeah.
It's always very interesting stories.
And that
I
was-
think Sailor's was my favorite. So I was just wondering, like,
Well,
if that was. Yeah.
DPS is hilarious.
He's a great guy.
When I last worked with him in 2020, he gave me and Sinewave the instrumental and then said, I need this in 4 days. And we were like,
Oh,
hello?
shit.
4 days? And he was like, yeah, my fault for getting it on short notice. We were like, no worries, it's okay. We start working. 2 days later, he sends us a new instrumental and says, actually, use this one 2 days. It was like, all right, dog. But no, he's great. He's great. He back when he was doing Music Weekly was such a machine for work, and he still is. But now he lets himself take that time that he needs to.
I think he's
So it was
every
hilarious
3
anytime
weeks
you worked
now.
with him.
Yep.
I can't actually remember. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, because he's a beast. Once he sits down to work on something, he will just.
Cool.
He knows what he wants. He has the artistic vision, and he just blitzes through it. Whether it's production, writing, mixing, whatever it is, he can just knuckle down and get it done, which I really respect because it's a very difficult thing to do in creative fields. To just be able to sit down and work, it's such a hard thing to make yourself do. But it's like him and Fable, I feel like have that mindset that they can switch into and start being just like, I need to make something, so I'm going to make something.
Speaking of Fable, and I just want your opinion on this. I've heard Fable say, he loves music, he loves making music, but he also hates the living hell out of it.
Yeah. It's
And-
because it's such a punishing process. Because music, when you're working on music, especially when you're producing it yourself and writing it yourself and performing it yourself, when so much of it is coming from you, the only thing that you can be annoyed at when things don't start working is yourself. So it's this cycle of trying over and over again to get things to work, to sound like it sounds in your head, to put that out sonically into lyrics or into a composition. And when that fails, which it often does, it can be wildly frustrating.
Yeah.
So
That,
yeah, it's such a grueling process.
That whole differentiation from what's in your head to what's in front of you is why I don't draw.
Yeah, visual artists, like doing visual art is such like a clear comparison because it's the exact same for music. It's just all audio. But like if you've ever sat down with an image in your head and tried to reproduce it as a visual art, that's the exact same thing for music. It's like, this isn't working. Why isn't this looking like I think it should look? And it's just
Okay.
so difficult.
Makes sense.
Well, this has been really awesome. Again, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And last couple of questions I have. Anything to look out from you? Now that the EP's done. Anything?
I'm
kind
not
of
sure when this is gonna go like live, but
I'm
do
gonna try to have it
one music
live
video
by
dropping.
tomorrow. So.
Okay, then I have a music video dropping this Friday on my channel for the EP from my favorite song from the EP. And then after that, I'm finally tackling Chainsaw Man. I did the Chainsaw Man freestyle when the manga was coming out, but that was just something light. That was literally me punching in just for fun. But now I'm like, Chainsaw Man time. It's my favorite series right now. It's my favorite manga. I'm so glad it's getting animated, so I'm going all in with the
I need to watch it / read it. I think I heard it got banned in America.
Chainsaw Man?
Yeah, I was hearing some stories about that. It was getting banned in America for something. I can't remember exactly what.
I don't think it did.
It could have been fake news. I don't know. I saw a couple videos about it, and I'm like, I've never seen an anime be banned in America that wasn't
It might
hentai.
there probably was like petitions about it or something like that because it's deals with devils and stuff. But
Oh no, Devil's a part-timer.
yeah, you know how America is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, especially right now. But all right, and that's again, thank you so much. And I'll tag you when it's live and everything. So,
Hell yeah.
But again, this is the one and only Pink Bear, Shwabadi, or as she
Thank you
likes
for
to
having me.
yeah, and as she likes to say after a Dan Bull comment, Shwatedi. But with that being said, I hope you have a great rest of your day, week, month, year, and life, and I'll have a good one. Peace.
Yeah.